What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC 253. And a pretty solid card we have here, especially the co-main event's going to be amazing. The main event is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. And there's a lot of fun fights sprinkled throughout the card. Shane Young, Ludovic Klein, something I'm really interested in watching. Alexa Kamer, William Knight is going to be a really fun fight. Even interested in the people's main event in the first fight of the night, Khadis Ibragimov versus Danilo Marquez. Someone we're going to talk about in a little bit, but it should be a fun card overall. Not the strongest pay-per-view in the world, but still, Fight Island, I'm ready for it. As always, on the pay-per-view cards, I'm going to be doing my DraftKings contest. To enter that, first, like this video. Next, subscribe if you are not subscribed already. And then third, comment down below your DraftKings username. I limited it to 150 people this time, getting some more people in there because last time it filled very, very fast. So just comment your DraftKings name and I'll get you in there as soon as possible. But with that said, we're ready to break down this card from a DraftKings perspective, talk about some of my favorite plays on the slate. But before we do that, we're going to take a look at the fight doesn't go to decision lines. And we're going to start with Adesanya Costa. Minus 280, fight doesn't go to decision. And I think this fight's going to end inside the distance. I see a lot of people thinking it's maybe goes to decision or something, but I don't think that Paulo Costa has the cardio to really last that 5 rounds, especially he comes in the first and second round trying to end the fight right away. I just don't see him lasting those full 25 minutes. I think it's either going to be Paulo Costa early or Adesanya late in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round there. So definitely a fight I want to target from both sides. Kamer Knight, minus 245, fight doesn't go to decision. Both guys are more than capable of finishing this fight. It is a fight I want both sides on. More on the Kamer side, but I think Knight's a great play. I think he has a lot of value being the underdog there and a guy that can finish the fight. Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz, minus 215. Fight doesn't go to decision. I could see this going to decision, whether it's Dominic Reyes winning a decision. I don't really see Jan winning a decision. Maybe he does, but I think if there's a finish, I think either guy could finish here, but I could see a scenario where it does go to decision, and even then I think it'll score fine on DraftKings. If Blachowicz wins at 7,200, obviously it's probably going to be optimal, but I'm really high on Reyes this week. Espino Hughes, minus 190, fight doesn't go to decision. If this ends inside the distance, it's going to be Espino getting probably a first round submission. If not, I don't really see Hughes finishing. So I think the finish is more going to be on the Espino side. Maybe Hughes can get a late finish if Espino gasses out, something like that. But Espino first round is probably what's going to happen if this does end inside the distance. And then Marquez and Ibragimov, minus 150, fight doesn't go to decision. Both guys tend to slow down. Both guys tend to gas out. Two very, very low-level guys. I can see it ending inside the distance. And, of course, it is the first fight of the night. We all know that the first fight of the night tends to end up on the optimal lineup. I don't know what it is, but it always, you always see it on the optimal lineup for some reason, no matter who it is. Whether it's Sabina Mazo, it's going to end up on the optimal lineup. So in this case, I think there's actually a decent chance that it does. Just want to point out some other lines here. Klein and Young, minus 135. Fight doesn't go to decision. I actually think that has a decent shot of finishing there. Other than that, I think everything else should probably go to decision there. All right, getting into some of my core plays, and we're going to start with Dominic Reyes at 9,000. I really like him in this fight. He's going to be the faster fighter. He's going to be the more athletic fighter in there. I know people think that Jan Blachowicz is some kind of crazy power puncher, but in reality, he only has 3 knockouts since 2011, and 2 of those are against some of the chinniest guys in the division. I mean, Luke Rockhold, Corey Anderson, come on. And then Alir Latifi, like in 2013, he got him with a body kick, something like that. But I think he has power, but I think people are really overrating the power of Jan Blachowicz. And I really like Reyes in the spot at 9,000. I think he can win a decision. I even think he can maybe even knock out Jan Blachowicz. So I'm going to be all over Dominic Reyes this week at 9,000. I like the price a lot. Paulo Costa, 7,700. It's interesting. You're getting someone with first, second round knockout upside here, and in Costa, I'm not necessarily picking him to win, but if he does, it's obviously going to be optimal. And it's there's not many underdogs I really like this week, so Paulo Costa is going to be in a lot of my tournament lineups, probably cash as well, because I can see Adesanya, going to the later rounds and finishing him, and Costa racking up a ton of significant strikes up until then. So Costa is going to be in a lot of my lineups, but I am playing both sides with Adesanya as well. Jake Matthews, this is more from a cash game perspective. I don't know how much I'm going to have in tournaments because he's not typically a high scorer, but the matchup is fantastic here against Diego Sanchez. I think he's better than everywhere than Diego Sanchez at this point in the career. If this was a couple years ago, of course, it would be a whole different breakdown, but this is 2020, Diego Sanchez, and I just don't see it, man. I don't think he's all there nowadays. Some of the training techniques he's been doing, some of the techniques in the octagon he's been doing, it just does not look great. And I think Matthews should roll here. So maybe he does go out there and break the slate. Maybe he does finish a Diego Sanchez that is not as durable as he once was. So 9,400. I'm going to lock him in cash. I'm going to have him in some tournament lineups as well. Ludovic Klein, 8,300, and this is kind of frustrating because he was an underdog all week. And then DraftKings would not put the fight in. And then when DraftKings finally decided to put this fight on DraftKings, Klein was now the favorite. So we have to play him at 8,300 instead of like a 7,900 or a 7,800. So I wish DraftKings would have got on that a little bit sooner, but still like him a lot at 8,300. I really like this guy. I think he's fantastic. He hits very hard, a nasty, nasty head kick. And Young does not play defense. He does not guard that head kick. I've seen him get head kicked before, and if you get head kicked by Klein, you are going out cold. This is a fight I really do want to target from both sides because the volume is going to be crazy. And honestly, I can definitely see somebody getting put out. And I just like Klein a lot. I like what I see from the dude. Getting into the GPP tournament plays here. Israel Adesanya, 8,500. Obviously a fantastic play, and I'm even picking him to win. It's just going to be a very dangerous couple rounds for him, but if he can get out of those first couple rounds, I do think he gets a finish late. I think he can win a decision also, but most likely going to get a finish there. I don't see Paulo Costa lasting those 25 minutes. I think Adesanya is a very, very good play. Alexa Kamer, 8,600. He's a finisher. I think he's finished about 80% of his fights, and I'm not high on Knight. I'm not as high on Knight as everybody else is. Like, a lot of people are high on this guy. Watching tape on Knight, I just wasn't impressed. I did not really like what I saw. I think Kamer should get this win. I think people are taking into account his first UFC fight with Justin Ledet. He did not look all that great, but maybe he had some first fight jitters, something like that. But I do think he's the better fighter overall. But then again, Knight is very, very dangerous. So it is a fight I wanted to target on both sides, but I do like Kamer at 8,600. Khadis Ibragimov at 8,700. As ugly as it sounds, as ugly as a fight this is, I have some decent interest. Watching tape on his opponent, Danilo Marques, he does not look like he should be in the UFC at all. He's 34 years old. He's coming off of like a 2.5-year layoff. He's been fighting awful competition. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Just watching tape on him, like, he has no striking. His wrestling is very, very bad. He takes down these lower-level guys, and then these lower-level guys are able to stand up easy, able to reverse them. Guys with like 0-16 records, so I don't get why Danilo Marques is coming into the UFC here. Are they trying to get Ibragimov an easy win? Are they trying to... I'm sure they're not trying to build up Marques and get him an easy win here. So I do like Ibragimov to get the win here. First fight of the night. You all know that how I feel about the first fight of the night. It always seems to find its way on the optimal lineup. So I think Ibragimov at 8,700 is a good play there. And what I noticed is a lot of these plays that I'm looking at, a lot of the fights that I'm targeting are in this 8,000, 7,500 to like 8,700 range, right in the mid-range. So I think I'm going to be doing a lot of mid-range this week. Of course, there are some decent options up in the 9,000s. Juan Espino, Brad Riddell, Jake Matthews, Dominic Reyes is somebody I'm high on, but I'm really going to be digging deep into this mid-range build this week because a lot of those fights are probably going to score very high. Juan Espino, 9,100. If he wins, it's probably either a decision or a first-round submission. He has a very good submission game, very good wrestling. I think the likelihood of a first-round submission is actually pretty high. I think like a submission prop for Espino is like plus 120. So I do think that likelihood that he does get a submission is high. I think he can get down Hughes. Not a big fan of Hughes whatsoever. If Hughes can weather the storm, maybe he can get a late finish or even win a decision, but just don't think that's all that likely. So I do think Espino is a pretty good tournament play here at 9,100 because of that first round submission upside. He does, I went in there looking at tape to see if he had some decent wrestling, and I was actually really surprised with what I saw. His wrestling is quite solid. I know Hughes does have some good takedown defense, but I do think that Espino can get him down. Getting into the live dogs here, William Knight. It seems like a lot of people are on him this week. I don't really see it, but he does have power. He just doesn't look great to me. But of course, he's more than capable of getting a finish here. And at 7,600, that's something we really want to target there. So I think it's a good play, good tournament play there. So I will have some Knight at 7,600 just because of that knockout upside. Danilo Marquez, 7,500, just got done kind of dogging this guy, but Ibragimov's 0-3 in the UFC. He's not the best fighter. This is extremely low level. Both these guys should not be in the UFC. If Ibragimov gasses out like he tends to do a lot, maybe Marquez is able to get a submission. If he's able to get the fight to the mat, maybe he's able to get a submission. His one path to victory would be a submission. So 7,500, it's kind of interesting on the first fight of the night especially. Both these guys are going to be very low owned, and I think this fight is pretty important here. Shane Young, 7,900. Like I mentioned earlier, he should be like 8,300. DraftKings took their time, and when they finally put him in, Klein was the slight favorite. So we're getting him at 7,900. I think he's a good play. I think this fight's going to score very high. He's someone who he scored like 120 significant strikes his last fight, 104 the fight before. Like, he throws a ton of volume. No regards to any defense. He's very, very hittable. That's why I like Klein here, but he does put on an extremely high pace. So got to give him that. He's powerful as well. Klein making his UFC debut. I don't know. It's a fight I really want to target right in this 7,900, 8,300 price tag for both guys. I'm going to have a lot of both in this fight. I do think it scores high. And then we got to mention her, Sijara Eubanks, 7,400. I don't necessarily think she wins, but when she wins, she scores very high. And when she loses, she scores pretty solid for a loss. So I don't see Vieira finishing her. I don't see her knocking her out or submitting her. Eubanks is a black belt in BJJ, although I do question her skill level on the mat. But I do think that if she wins this, it could be optimal. I mean, 7,400, I think if she wins, it's probably going to be a high-scoring fight there for her. But I just see Vieira getting it done. I think Vieira has the better ground game, and I think that's where it's going to end up a lot on the fight. But Eubanks has been looking good in the last two fights. Everybody tends to dog her cardio, but I said last time, like, she's been working on it. I've been checking her Instagram. She's really been putting a focus on that cardio, and it's looked good. It looked good against Cheesecake Maras, and it looked good against Julia Avila. So I would not be surprised if she kept it rolling here at 7,400. I think it's worth a couple plays there. Getting into the pump plays here, Jan Blachowicz, 7,200. The Polish power, if he does win, maybe he gets a knockout. It's hard to see him winning a decision because he's going to be, fairly out-volumed by Dominic Reyes here. Reyes does throw a decent amount more than him. But I don't know. Maybe he gets a knockout. He's been knocking out some guys, of course, Luke Rockhold, Corey Anderson, two of the chinniest in the division, but maybe he is able to get a knockout here. And I think at 7,200, if he does get that knockout, if he does win a decision somehow, I do think he'll probably be optimal. So Jan Blachowicz isn't a bad pump play whatsoever. Fades, Kaylin Vieira, 8,800. It's just Eubanks has never been finished, and I don't really see that changing here. I don't think she's gonna submit Eubanks. I don't think she's gonna knock her out or anything. So really, there's other plays I like around her, just a little bit more there. So that's about it, you guys. If you want to sign up on Patreon, I have a lot more content on there. You get full access to my model with all the fighter stats, my premium projections, my GPP lineup percentages, my DraftKings article, which will be out late Friday night, early Saturday morning, and of course, access to my Discord. We have a bunch of guys on there. We talk fights on Saturday. It's pretty fun, and I also am free to answer any questions throughout the week. But really looking forward to this card. Just want to quickly go over my favorite fights to target here. It's going to be, of course, the Adesanya Costa fight. It's going to be something I want to target. Dominic Reyes, Blachowicz is something I want to target. Shane Young Klein is something I really am going to be high on. I think it scores high no matter the winner, especially at that price. Alexa Kamer Knight, 8,600, 7,600 matchup. I think someone has a decent shot of getting finished. So those are my four fights that I'm really looking at for this card, and of course going to mix in some other plays with those four fights there. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, like this video, subscribe if you have not yet. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. If you guys have any questions, my DMs are always open. And then, of course, my live stream is going to be Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, going to be going over the weigh-ins, final thoughts, some betting, DraftKings, all that good stuff. A very important show because a lot can happen, during these weigh-ins and stuff. So actually really curious to see like how some of these guys look, like Danilo Marquez. I'm interested in seeing how he looks. Espino, I'm interested in seeing how he looks. Some of these other guys on there. So make sure you guys tune into that show. And that's about it. And good luck on Saturday.